And we're live.
With Paranormal Spirits, place to come get a booze on. We talk about the booze, the things that go bump in the night. And I get to do that with all my booze. I'm Mike Black. To my left, my beautiful, talented, and time-conscious wife, Alyssa.
Hello.
That's not a watch.
Yeah, I know.
It's a fake watch.
Yeah, I know.
It's a step tracker.
Whatever.
It's called a pedometer.
Yeah.
A podiatrist.
No.
Sitting across from me, the beautiful and talented John Burkett.
Good day to you, sir.
Good day to you. And tonight I am bringing you a story of what is purported to be...
Purported.
Purported.
Purported or reported?
Yeah, both.
Yeah, both.
Forget about it.
The most haunted house in all of England. That's what they say. So, but before we do that, let's talk about what we're drinking. Alyssa?
Ardbeg. Wee beastie. Because I don't.
Oh, God. She's going to pass out in the living room again.
I really like variety, but I have been digging Wee beastie.
You've been on a wee beastie kick.
I'm a Scotch fan.
You are. That's uncommon, I think.
Well,
and this is
Scotch,
probably a
I think.
sexist statement.
Yeah.
But I don't think most women don't like Scotch.
Man, I don't know any other people that. I mean, Taryn would gag if you gave her a...
Man, she can slam that Scotch down, can't she?
I freaking love it.
A peaty
I love
Scotch.
it.
That's the thing.
That's the thing, is the smoke.
I think it's a testament to the fact that we took that entire bottle of Lagavulin because both of us did not like a peated
That's true.
Scotch. And
Until
we were
we finished
like,
that bottle.
we're going to finish this bottle. And by the end of it, it was like, Band-Aids, love it.
Yeah, I would.
Iodine's
probably
my favorite note.
It'd probably be cool if you told everybody that we did that over like a week period. We didn't just belt down a bottle of Scotch in one sitting.
Yes, we did it responsibly. And, well, you can't belt that down and not
Nah.
be, and you wouldn't want it after that because you'd be so sick.
Right.
But no, I mean, progressively just like, hey, let's sit down if we wanted to have a drink and try a Scotch. And it was like, and you could tell we were both like, ugh.
At first.
I turned it on.
Yes.
You did turn
John
me on
did.
to it.
John, yes.
You get all the credit. And I will say that I did turn John on to tequila.
Yeah.
So, John, that looks very clear over there. So, you're either drinking vodka or a Blanco of some sort. What are you drinking?
It's tres agaves. For those who don't speak Spanish, that means 3 agaves.
Thank you, John.
But earlier, it's like making the rounds of all the tequilas that have a number in the name.
Oh.
Because earlier I had a
Tequila Ocho.
tequila ocho, which means tequila 8. So it was either this or a He Cuatro, which means G4. So I decided to go 3.
Hey, Quattro. That's what I was like. I need
Well,
that.
because there was only a little bit left in your bottle. There's other bottles there, but I didn't
Yes.
want to go to all the trouble of taking the last one and opening another bottle. So this was already open.
So I am drinking Lalo Blanco. And I don't know what Lalo means.
It's somebody's name. It's
It's
the
a
guy's.
name.
It's the distiller's nickname of the father of the current distiller, if I remember correctly. It's an actual
somebody's name.
family distiller.
yeah,
Gotcha.
And
I wanted it to mean
that's
something
Grandpa's
fun.
nickname.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Well, that's the best. Okay, let's take care of business before we get started. If you're listening on a podcast, then go to YouTube and subscribe and like and all that good stuff. But while you're there, make sure that you check out our Lizzie Borden. There's 2 episodes. Go to that first one and put in Blanton's in the comment. If you are 21 years old and we draw your name from all the names that come in from the comments, you will win a bottle of Blanton's. So there.
But if you're 18 or 19, you've wasted.
Yeah.
You
You can go ahead and comment.
can comment. And please subscribe.
Yeah, but there's going to be an age verification, so use your buddy's.
If you comment, do
ID.
you have to be subscribed to comment
Yes, you have to subscribe.
Just
You
subscribe.
have to be subscribed, and you have to comment Blanton's in the comment section.
But Blanton's and then anything else you want to comment. As
Yeah,
well.
for sure.
Just,
You guys
these
are
guys
great.
are idiots.
These guys are crazy.
These fat old men.
We take constructive criticism well.
Sure.
Yeah, that's why we stopped talking about the liquor so much, so Mary wouldn't be so upset.
That's
at us.
true.
Hadn't forgot about Mary.
If you haven't,
Bless her. I
if
hope
you
she
haven't
still
gone
listens.
to check us out on the podcast, we do have a special offering there for the true dedicated listeners who catch us on podcast, and it's called Boozy's After Dark, or it's Paranormal Spirits After Dark, but it's
Ironically, it's
there,
already after dark. Like we started this after dark.
I know, but it's just called After Dark because it's after the lights go down, the cameras go off, and we get to be ourselves. And what we do is we pull back the curtain. We get just as crazy as we want. We talk about anything that we want, and not just paranormal stuff.
The stuff we can't say on the YouTubes.
Or shouldn't, at least.
Not if you want to be monetized.
Not if you want to be monetized, or not if you want to get canceled or something. So come check us out there and enjoy it. Okay, y'all ready for some spookies?
Yeah.
Okay. So I told you we're going to England. I told you it's most haunted. Any guesses?
Infield.
No.
I already know, so I'm not going to guess.
You already know. You saw over my shoulder or something. Okay. So I am going to be telling you the story about Borley Rectory. You heard of Borley Rectory?
No.
Okay. So Borley Rectory, you saw the movie The Nun.
Ugh.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a Conjuring movie,
So this
right?
is an Ed and Lorraine Warren.
It is not
thing?
an Ed and Lorraine Warren, but it does involve nuns.
And it's about
So-
it's Conjuring, right? The Conjuring?
No, it is not Conjuring. It is,
No, that's Infield. Or part of
yeah.
the,
That's where.
the Warren thing is the Infield house. That's
Yeah,
right.
this is not that, but it does involve nuns. So Borley Rectory was a Victorian mansion that was located in the village of Borley, Essex, in England.
in Essex.
Do y'all know what a rectory is?
It's a place where nuns live, right?
No. A rectory is housing that is provided
For the vicar.
for the vicar, also known as a rector.
Yeah, it's for the preacher. Mm-hmm. In the Anglican church, they call the vicar's like a nickname or whatever.
Episcopal, Catholic, or Anglican. So it could
Yeah.
be any one of those three.
Did Episcopal and Anglican the same thing?
No.
No.
No, they're two different things. So anyway, a rebuild was completed on this rectory in 1863. It was a large red brick building, typical of that mid-Victorian period. It had the pointed gables, the big tall chimney stacks, and it gained notoriety as the most haunted house in England. And probably the reason for that is the house, or the rectory, was built on the site of an ancient monastery. And when I say ancient, according to legend, in the 14th century, 1363 AD, there was a monastery in Essex. And a monk there, good-looking fella, handsome, he fell in love with a nun from a nearby convent. Well, this has been no for a long
She's married to Jesus.
for a long time. This has been a no, but you can't hide love. So
No, you can't.
It's just a way of getting out. And for long, their secret was out. Their secret love affair was no longer a secret, and the monk and the nun had planned to elope. The very night that they had planned to make good their escape, they were found out. Upon finding out about their tryst, the monk and the nun were punished severely.
Bless.
So the monk was hanged
Jesus.
until dead.
Bless.
And I guess they just didn't do half-ass hangings in where they just
No.
hang you till you pass out. But he was hanged until dead. And the nun, she had it even worse. They took her and entombed her alive in the walls of the convent. And now the monastery and the convent and the church all right there together. So it wasn't that far apart. But the
So repressive. It's so weird that people, would try to suppress natural stuff like that. It's odd.
yeah.
You know, in other parts of the world at the same time in the 14th century, people were normal.
Yeah, I know. But
Christianity was
normal.
no.
weird.
So anyway, so Henry Bull was the rector of Borley, Essex, and he was very well known in the community. Their family had been there for centuries, He was a respected clergyman. His nickname was the Old Bull.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah, I mean, very creative, these people. Because of his athleticism, and evidently he was an amazing boxer and loved the pugilism. So, anyway, in 1863, the rectory was rebuilt, and it was Reverend Henry Bull that was responsible for the rebuilding of Borley Rectory. He oversaw the construction. Of course, it was built on the site where the monastery was. And the reason they decided to do this was because of the fire that had basically turned the rectory into a shell. And it had, in 1841, it had basically burned to the ground, leaving only some stone walls left, and that was it. The land itself had been in the family for 3 centuries prior to Bull getting chosen as the rector for the church, the preacher.
I like to say vicar because that's kind of the casual name. That's also one of my favorite British sitcoms, The Vicar of Dibley. Mm-hmm. You know, he's the vicar.
So this land, the vicar.
Vicar.
Would you like me to call him a vicar instead of a rector?
The victor.
Would it make you feel
Vicar
better?
Bull. Governor.
I'll call him a vicar if you like. But anyway, so originally the land was given to the Waldegrave family, which he was a direct descendant thereof, in the 1500s. When he was assigned to Borley as the rector, the vicar, he was
Whatever.
ecstatic.
I just like to say vicar.
So he was ecstatic. He was thrilled because like I say, this had been in his family all this time. And so during his time as rector is when Bull experienced paranormal activity associated with the rectory and the land. Now, Bull's family was the first to experience the strange phenomenon in the building itself once it was built. The children heard footsteps at night in their bedrooms, and as they slowly approached the bedroom door, they could hear these footsteps walking up, and then they would sit there and they'd stop and they'd listen and they'd hear something knock at the door 3 times. Every time it was always 3, no more, no less. And they would jump up and they'd run up and they'd swing open the door, and there was nothing in the hallway, nothing there. And other times they would hear steps following them as they walked down the path between the church and the rectory. There was a pathway, and as they would walk down the path, they would hear somebody walking behind them. And one time, one of the sons of Henry Bull would, which they had 14 kids. So,
jeez.
Yeah. Gosh. So one son hid behind a tree to see who might be coming, and he, as everybody else, just walked on. So he's going to hide and look. There was nobody there.
Man, 14. That thing was wore out. So was his wallet.
That's right. But there was no one there. And it got so bad that the townspeople there in Borley refused to walk down that path after dark. So, Henry Bull was a very stoic and practical man and not easily unnerved. However, he believed the local story of the ghostly nun because it had been going on for, quite a while before they got there. This goes back, literally centuries. And so the following is adapted from his journal, and I'll read you. Borley Rectory was a place often teeming with the laughter and mischief of local children. It harbored secrets darker than the shadows that crept across its aging walls. One fateful afternoon, as the rector, Henry Bull, labored in his study, the echoes of youthful exuberance danced through the corridors. The rector was intent on shooing away the noisy children, but he was resolved to finish his work before casting them back to the courtyard. Yet, as the children's voices abruptly became hushed whispers, a curious unease gripped the air. Drawn like moths to a flame, the children ventured into the east wing's dimly lit drawing room, their steps faltering as they entered its murky depths. There in the oppressive darkness, a figure stirred, its form barely discernible amidst the shifting shadows. It moved back and forth across the furthest wall, pacing, one shadow darker than the other shadows around it. The children watched as the shadows, cloaked in the garb of a nun, glided with ethereal grace across the chamber. With hollow eyes that seemed sunken to the point of being skeletal, the figure advanced, gliding towards them. As she got closer, it was evident why she glided. She had no feet. Panic seized the children as they beheld the apparition's ghastly countenance, its skeletal frame swathed in the tattered remnants of religious vestments. Their screams echoed through the halls, a chorus of terror that summoned the rector from his solitude. Racing to the drawing room, the rector found the children huddled in fear, their trembling voices recounting tales of spectral visitations. Though he sought to reassure them with rational explanations, a seed of doubt took root in his mind. He was a man of God, but he had heard the legends. Entering the drawing room, the rector's footsteps softened and slowed as he beheld the empty chamber, its silence a stark contrast to the chaos that had unfolded mere moments before. As he turned to leave and stepped into the hallway, the door slammed shut behind him. So they were always hearing these strange footsteps in this place, and it said that there was almost always a constant sound of running water throughout the rectory, and yet there was no source of it. They would hear whispering, disembodied voices at night. Servant bells would ring. And in a disconnected system, the servant bells weren't hooked up anymore, and yet they would hear them ringing. Ghostly apparitions frequently reported. Objects would move by themselves. Furniture would be rearranged. And the children would often see the apparition of a nun wandering around the rectory and the grounds, but not only the children, the adults saw her too. Ethel and two of her sisters were hosting a garden party on the grounds when they saw a nun walking towards a path that led to the church. One of the sisters chased after the nun. When she neared the nun turned around and immediately vanished. And this was in the daytime. Sightings of her in the churchyard, the lane, and the grounds of the house were reported decades before the rebuilding of the rectory. Ethel Bull was the youngest of Henry Bull's 14 children, as I said a while ago, was actually physically assaulted. She was pushed and slapped so violently that it left marks of handprints on her skin. Mm. There was also a horse-drawn carriage that was driven by a headless apparition. And this was seen by several people from the township and by the Bull family as well. So Reverend Henry Bull passed away on the evening of February 7th, 1892, in what became known as the Blue Room. The night after his death, Ethel was awakened to find a dark figure standing over her bed, and this was only the first of nightly visits. They would continue for years. Henry's son, Harry Foister Bull, took over as the vicar at Borley in 1892, and like his father, he was athletic and he was well liked in the community. He claimed to have seen a different apparition one evening in the garden. His dog alerted him by incessantly barking and cowering behind Harry. So Harry observed this figure between the trees, and he assumed that it was like a poacher, somebody out there hunting on their land, until it walked straight through a closed gate. As he drew near, the rector saw that it was a headless man who then vanished. Mm-mm. On multiple occasions, Harry witnessed the spectral horse-drawn carriage, usually in the evening or at night. It would speed past the rectory and then just disappear. The apparition of the nun remained a constant. She was observed in full daylight, roaming the grounds and looking in the windows of the rectory. On numerous occasions, Harry and his family would look up during dinner and see her looking in the window. And this became such a frequent thing that eventually Harry bricked up the window because they'd be sitting there eating dinner, and here's this nun that's looking in the window at him. And that was the only way they could get any peace. Well, Harry, he eventually married this widow named Ivy, and she had a daughter from her previous marriage. And Ethel and Frida, both spinsters. I think we had that in another show, didn't we, Spencer?
Yes,
And the Lizzie Borden thing, because her and her sister were
right. So, well,
Ethel
and Frida are also spinsters, and they believed that Ivy did not love Harry at all and only wanted his money. Well, Harry became ill and died on February 26th, 1927. Remember when his dad died?
1890?
Something. But it was in February, like February the 7th. So February is not a good month for the male bulls in this family. Mm-mm. Supposedly he died from natural causes, but Ethel and Frida started a rumor that she had poisoned him.
Love that.
That Ivy had poisoned.
Poison Ivy.
Yeah, poison Ivy. Yeah, right? So he passed away in the Blue Room, just as his father did, almost 35 years later, almost to the day. He's only missed it by a couple of weeks. And this added to the macabre history of the rectory. So now we're up to 1928. In 1928, Reverend Guy Eric Smith and his wife, Mabel, moved into the rectory and almost immediately began to experience paranormal phenomena. They would see orbs of light dancing around the rectory and the grounds. They also saw the nun, and they would see her wandering the grounds and through the rectory. They also saw the carriage with the headless driver, as well as other shadowy figures that would move around the grounds. Also heard the bells ringing and hear the disembodied footsteps and whispers throughout the rectory. On one occasion, footsteps and soft-spoken voices could also be heard, to the point that Smith thought someone had snuck into the house. And so he grabs up a stick and goes searching for him.
That's because it's England, so you got to pick up a stick.
Yeah, he didn't have a gun, right? They searched the house, probably before that, though, wasn't it? I don't know when that legislation went through, but
way after the 1920s. Yeah, after post World War II.
Yeah, so they searched the house throughout. No intruder was ever found. So one day, while cleaning out some cabinets, Mabel is deep in this cabinet, back in the recesses. She finds this football kind of shaped thing wrapped
American
up.
Or football like in England?
Football like American football.
Oh, not.
Yeah, not
like what they call football.
Football.
Not what they call football in England.
No, it was an American football. And so she finds this thing back in the back of the cabinet.
Rugby ball, they would call it.
It would be a rugby ball. Mm-hmm. And it is wrapped in paper. She pulls it out, and it is a human skull.
Love that.
So the Smiths, they're basically here. We've got ghosts, we've got stuff moving through the house, so they're at their wits' end. And this is 1929. They are, as they, in their words, they said, we were on the brink of insanity. So they call the Daily Mirror, who publishes the article about the haunted rectory on October 11th, 1929. And at this point enters Harry Price. Now, Harry Price was a renowned paranormal investigator, and his team. And Price was like, I would say he was like the Zach Bagans of his day, but even more so because Price had actually written like 20 different books on the paranormal. So he'd probably more like Warren rather than Zach, but extremely famous. And anyway, so he goes in there, and the moment he gets there, he starts documenting paranormal occurrences at the house. There's objects levitating, things being hurled across the room, crashing into walls. Cryptic messages are being put on mirrors like it's written in a finger across the steam in a mirror. He also claimed to see the nun walking around the grounds. And in one instance, Price and his assistant saw a red glass candlestick as they're coming down the staircase. This red glass candlestick comes from behind them and floats to in front of them.
Oh, like a crystal candle, like the Okay.
And it gets in front of them, and it's just sitting there floating in front of them, and then all of a sudden it just shoots across and crashes into a wall. And of course, there's red glass shards goes everywhere. A lot of what Price documented was met with stark criticism because it could not be corroborated.
No thermal, no FLIR back then.
No FLIR.
No multi-spectrum
EVPs,
cameras. None
of the good shit.
Yeah.
So it was just his
IR
word,
cameras,
what he saw.
Nothing.
Right. So, and he was the only one there at times, so it couldn't be corroborated. But I will say that the Smiths had barely spent 2 years in the rectory, and they were out. They vacated in 1929. When questioned about it later, they said they would later refer to the period as the darkest days of their life. And even if Price's documentation could not be corroborated, I would say that having that many people through that many families and people that lived around there that didn't actually live in the rectory would walk past and see the nun out there in the yard. So, I mean, there's lots and lots and lots of people who have seen this. So, Price published his findings, and this, of course, shot him into the limelight and captured the public interest, and he becomes famous overnight. And so Borley Rectory was basically the Amityville, of its time. And next guy in line, Reverend Lionel Foister, who actually was a relative of Henry Bull and his wife, Mary Ann, and their adopted daughter, Adelaide. And they came in after the Smiths in 1930. And the paranormal activity did not change at that time with the new owners, just more of the same. Voices, objects being thrown, shattering into walls. Windows would shatter. Without warning, they just explode out. The windows would. Doors would open and close on their own, and they would also lock. And at one point, their daughter, Adelaide, was locked in a room. They couldn't find the key anywhere. The room was locked. So it's one of those kinds where you had to put the key in to lock it. Mm-hmm. Key wasn't
old
anywhere. Old school. Yeah, old school. Well, the door locked, and she was locked in there for over 2 hours until they finally got her out. But anyway, furniture would rearrange itself now. Objects would disappear, reappear. They could hear heavy breathing at times and footsteps with no accompanying body. So they're experiencing the same kind of hauntings, but it's like it's upping the ante. With each person that comes along, there's new stuff that happens. And on one occasion, Mary Ann turned around and came face to face with the apparition of Henry Bull. So she turned around in the hallway there, and he was standing there right behind her. And she seems to be the focus of the entity's attention. She got poked, she was slapped, she was pushed, objects were thrown at her. And one night, Mr. Foister, or Reverend Foister, I guess, started at the sound of a scream. So he's in another part of the house, and he rushes in to find his wife, and she's just outside the blue room. And she is pale as a ghost, no pun intended. And she has blood pouring out of her face. And something had been thrown and hit her right in the face and cut her across her cheek. And you remember the blue room now is the bedroom that Henry Bull and Harry Bull had passed away in. So another evening, as Foister is leaving the sewing room to get some papers from the library, and he was startled to see that almost every picture in the hallway had been taken off the wall and laid face down the line of the hallway. Of course, they're the only ones there. So anyway, so mysterious writing begins appearing on the walls, where it's just etched into the wall. And with phrases like, "Mary Ann, please help," and "Mary Light Mass Prayers." Well, Mary Ann, I'm sorry, she started writing back to the spirits on the wall. And I'll throw up a picture. You can see it. But some of it's just absolutely indiscernible. I mean, it's letters that are just run on top of each other and stuff like that. And so she was writing back, and like one of her phrases says, please, I want to understand, but I can't read what you've written. And so anyway, it got so bad that Mary Ann ended up going through an exorcism on 2 different occasions. Because the husband's a preacher, what do? You exorcise the demon, right? So she goes through this exorcism, and this did not help the situation. It only got worse. It just pissed the demon off or whatever.
He was a Catholic.
I guess not. But, I mean, who knows? I mean, you're talking about England. It could have been...
No, this particular church is a part of the Parish Church of England. I mean, it's Anglican church.
Yeah. So it seemed just to piss the spirit off.
You had a Catholic demon, so you can't.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Or a Catholic ghost. I mean, it's a nun, right? So you got to have a Catholic priest to get rid of the nun.
So I don't know. I don't know if they read the rules, but anyway, this thing started throwing these fist-sized stones throughout the house. And at one point, Reverend Lionel Foister was actually struck in the shoulder by one of these stones. And in 1937, the Foisters left the rectory after Mary Ann was in bed one night, and she was literally thrown out of bed by this unseen force. And they said, that's it, we're done, we're out. So they left. A lot of experts have speculated it might have been Mary Ann creating the phenomena herself, or Adelaide could have been producing the phenomenon. You remember when we did the case of Doris Bither, and that was out in California. Carrie and what's his name? They were.
Didn't he end up moving to here somewhere?
Yeah, she ended up moving to Texas. Yeah,
because like all smart Californians end up doing.
Yeah, it's what the entity was based on, that movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So, and they thought maybe it was her that was actually producing some of the demonic things that were happening. So after the Foisters left, Price took advantage of the empty rectory, and he ends up gathering a group of 48 different experts in varying fields of study, and he spends a year in the rectory, and I mean living in it and documenting all this. And he would allow these experts, this group, these almost 50-something people, could come in and spend a night there and document what they had seen, And so he even had a book, a little pamphlet thing, and I'll post up a picture I got a picture of one of the fronts of that book. And it has it tells them rules for documenting and all that, so that you're not influencing the experiment, It's the guy he was pretty squared away. He took a very scientific approach to it. And anyway, he starts this year-long investigation and using the best equipment available to him at the time and techniques. And they had some really extraordinary findings through while they were there. And they were even brought in psychic mediums, and they conducted some seances while they were there.
That's
Ouija boards?
You bring the Scrabble tiles and
yeah,
so
your planchets and boards.
So they have a seance, and the psychic is Helen Glanville, and she establishes communication with a spirit who introduces herself as a French woman named Mary Loet.
Oui.
And she comes through, and she tells a story that she had fallen in love and eloped with a wealthy Englishman that was visiting France. So she comes back to England to get married. And guess who it was? Henry Waldegrave. Remember who had the land given to them in the 1500s?
Mm-hmm.
The Waldegrave family.
It's interesting that his name is Waldegrave because a nun was walled up in her grave.
That's right. I didn't think about that. That's really cool.
Look, I can find a rabbit hole anywhere, lately.
After the last one.
Mm-hmm.
So Henry Waldegrave was visiting and brought back his new French wife. The love story, as sweet as it was, ended up turning sour. Henry and Mary got into a fight. Henry Waldegrave, according to Mary, via the psychic Helen Glanville, says that they got into a fight and Henry strangled her to death, choked her to death.
Still not half-assing things, are there?
No, he did it all the way.
Hung by the neck until dead, strangled all the way until dead.
So he kills her, and then he throws her into the cellar of the rectory to hide his crime. In a subsequent seance, Mary Lowe came through again, explaining that she was the one that had been trying to get assistance from Mary Ann Foister, and she was the one trying to get her attention and writing the notes to her. Another spirit was contacted, a Sune Imara, which doesn't sound English at all, but this was a malicious entity, and it prophesied that it would set the entire rectory on fire. So the culmination of this exhaustive research, the year long that Price had spent there, ended up with 2 books being written. One, The Most Haunted House in England, which was produced in 1940, and The End of Borley Rectory in 1946. So, you ready for the twist?
Yeah.
Here's a twist. In an ominous twist of fate, and just as it had been prophesied, on February 27th, 1939, the newest resident of Borley Rectory, Captain W.H. Gregson, accidentally dropped an oil lamp, setting the structure ablaze and severely damaging it. 13 years and 1 day after Harry Bull had died. Remember, Henry Bull died in February the 7th.
Mm-hmm.
Harry Bull died on the 26th of February, and this guy on the 27th set it on fire, and it resulted in Borley Rectory being demolished in 1944 because the fire was so devastating that they had to tear it down. Okay, and to this day, Borley Rectory maintains its reputation as the most haunted house in England, at least the land there, because they still see the nun.
The building's gone.
The building is gone.
1944, right?
Yeah, the building is gone. Okay. Now, ready for one more twist? During an exploration of the cellar in 1943, before the demolition in 44, guess what they found in the cellar?
Bones.
Human remains were found in the cellar.
Young woman's human
remains. The bones, a piece of skull and a jawbone was sent to be analyzed. It was found to be of a woman no more than 30 years old.
It's the nun.
Now, if you're thinking like I did, immediately, well, that's the bones of Mary Lowe, right?
No, I'm thinking
the original nun.
The nun they entombed.
Okay, wait.
Did they date the...
Wait for it. So, the part that I didn't tell you about Mary Lowe, she was a nun in France and eloped with Henry Waldegrave to come to England, just like the first nun tried to elope with the monk.
I thought you were going to tell us something like she
No, but I'm saying... So
reincarnated to be this woman is what I'm saying.
I don't know.
I mean, I realize they're different centuries
but it's a
apart.
French. She was a nun in France, and she fell in love, and Henry fell in love with this nun. He brings her back to England, offs her, and then throws her or buries her body in the basement or cellar. And just like the story, almost like it's repeating itself.
Yeah, I'd say.
Isn't that crazy?
It is.
No, I just thought that was so cool though, because it was like, you have this nun that's throughout this, throughout the story, dating all the way back to 1300s, and then you have this other one here it is that, she's the one causing all these problems in the house, or she says she is,
right,
and she's trying to, contact Mary Ann. And then you find out later that she's actually a nun that had come back. So the nun theme is still tied in all the way through. I just thought it was really cool.
I don't want to see no nun ghost. after watching that
Oh, that
movie.
movie is killer.
Well, the first one. Okay, after that, actually,
You like them? I thought they were.
I don't know the guy. I don't know if I've ever seen anything past
The first one.
the one where Lorraine Warren battles it out with the donut. She's thrown against the wall and all that. Anyway, nothing. I've never seen it. So at some point, it kind of gets dumb. You got Anna 15 Annabelle movies and all these numb.
How are you passing judgment on movies you haven't seen? That's not fair.
Because how long can you stretch that out? How many Insidiouses do you need?
I don't know.
How many Conjurings do you need?
Ask Vin Diesel.
A lot.
Annabelle's.
Ask Vin Diesel. How long can you stretch this out?
Okay, well, that's a terrible example because
they've only had,
10.
27.
10, I think.
Oh,
No
it's
doubt.
ridiculous.
Not to mention that whatever Calvin and Hobbes or whatever, the one with the Rock and the bald guy, the other bald guy, Jason Statham, the spin-off of Fast and Furious. Mm-hmm. So that's 11 films.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's dumb.
More than they have like Jason movies.
Yeah, but no, I watched all three. They're not bad. They're really not. They're not bad. Actually, the third one's pretty cool. The third one's actually very cool. You should give it a chance.
I don't know. I gave Rosemary's Baby a chance, and it kind of disappointed. It was a letdown.
All I can think about is the Conjuring one that you sent me, where the guy does the painting of the nun, and he comes back, and the one that you were showing me the other day.
Oh, I know, that's freaky.
The nun in those movies, though, that lady doesn't actually look like that. I've seen pictures of her without the makeup. She's not bad, but she looks scary AF in those movies.
Okay, I'm gonna put her picture up.
When she comes through that freaking
compared to with the nun makeup.
The movie, the nun makeup. Obviously, she looks scarier, but
that nun's creepy as hell.
When she tried out for that part, when they saw and I quote, the geography of her face.
Geography of her face.
The geography of her face. That's how they put it. Okay. When they saw the geography of her face, of her face. When they saw the geography of her face with the pointed nose and the sunken eyes and the kind of gaunt look, they said, that's her.
There's some other films, like, I can't think of it, but I have seen like some kind of horror film with nuns and stuff that starts out much the way the story with the nun and the monk and all that. Mm-hmm. Better than the Conjuring universe ones. Much bloodier.
Oh, really?
It'd break your head. But there's a recent one that has some similar storyline to that. I can't remember the name of it though. I don't know. No. I wish we could go. I mean, you could go to the land, I guess. Can't go to the building.
You can go to the land. You can go to Borley.
Why?
Yeah, I know, but
I mean, it's Essex.
Still,
I mean, if you're going to go to Essex, you got to go to Chelmsford.
People still go there. Like some people, it's almost like a yearly mecca for some of these people that they go there hoping to see the nun. Or
really,
yeah, it's like a big thing.
I ain't trying to see that bitch.
All these towns around this place, they all sound like houses in Harry Potter, like at Hogwarts. You've got Colchester, Chelmsford, Basildon.
Well, it's because it's European.
Where it's based.
Thurrock, Southend on Sea.
Because that's where it's based.
Duh.
But Essex, I've always said, like, you see the film Essex Boys, the gangster movie, and I don't know, Essex is always, that's the suburbs. That's like that's northeast of London. That's the burbs. That's kind of like, and also there's a lot of trash that lives in Essex, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Gangsters.
And I don't know. I never.
I want to see the Charlie. Speaking of English movies, I want to see the one. Is it The Gentleman?
Yeah,
with Charlie Hunnam.
And Matthew McConaughey. And, yeah. So I own the movie. It's good because it's a Guy Ritchie film, and I love all his stuff. But there's also a series now on Netflix called The Gentleman, which is
based off of that.
Yeah, no McConaughey. Everybody's British in this one, but it's kind of like he got to take that original storyline that Guy Ritchie wrote, and he was given a 8 or 10 episode Netflix to expand that whole universe. And it's really good. If you like British crime comedy, if you like Guy Ritchie films, love the series. But the movie's great too, because you got McConaughey as the wild card American in there.
Okay, so I will tell you this: that Price was slammed for being a fake and all that.
Every paranormal investigator still is today.
That's true.
By somebody.
You're right. Well, look at Zach. Now, and
I
everything that we say about Zach, and I still stand in his defense on. He caught a brick. He caught a flying brick.
Yeah.
Okay.
He then he got caught full of himself.
Yes, he did. But he caught a flying brick. And as far as I'm concerned, the godfathers of paranormal investigating TV.
Well, that's Taps.
Right.
Taps was around before.
Right. That's what I'm saying. The Godfather. And what's his name? Dang it.
Jay.
Not Jay. The other one's Grant.
See, I don't know all these people's names.
Grant got caught.
He got caught faking. Yeah, he got caught.
Yeah, well, I think he did.
He got caught. No,
he got caught.
And Jay saw him do it, and you could visibly see his displeasure.
Jay denies that.
I'll believe
he said he wasn't pissed.
I watched the video in slow motion.
Yeah, what do you say? What do you say in that situation?
What you know about Willis?
You sure look like you faked it. Maybe you didn't, but you sure look like you did.
But then also Jay's daughter, with her boyfriend with the
I haven't seen
tapping
that.
And the thing, people have exposed that as being fake.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, but
so
I've heard him make reference to it.
It's been busted out pretty hard. It's been in the not the Conjuring house. What's the one in Maine? Anyway, maybe it is the Conjuring house. But they were faking that.
So with Price, what happened was he was working with this guy who was a photographer, and the photographer faked a photo.
That was common at that time. During
the spiritualist,
double exposure and stuff. Yeah.
So he faked a photo, and then that when it splattered, it just landed on Price too.
Yeah.
And so, but this is one of those cases where you could tell me that somebody faked something about this and somebody made up something, right? And I would still think that it was a true haunting. And the reason being is because all these people in Borley have actually seen, not all, a lot of people for decades, hundreds of years.
I don't think there's that many people in Borley.
For hundreds of years, people have seen this nun, okay? And so that's been going on. You've got the Bull family, then you got the second Bull family living there, the Smiths, who was the last one? Foister? Yeah, I think Foister was the last one living there. And so you got all these different families over 100 years or so that have seen this thing, that profess this really happened. It happened to us. And so are they all in a conspiracy over that many decades?
No.
Or is it really haunted?
But I
say it's really haunted.
This whole island is haunted.
Oh, you think?
Britain?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Both those are Britain and Ireland.
I don't think you can be that
old.
We're
talking about having some ancient people going thousands of years. Of course, the whole damn thing's haunted.
Yeah.
Stonehenge.
Yeah. I think, and even if Price faked something, or whether he did or whether he didn't, and I'm not even going to argue that, because it doesn't matter to me, because there's so much evidence by word of mouth, people, by testimony, people who have seen it. It's overwhelming, I think.
Well,
I think it's haunted.
These religious sites in Europe and in the UK especially, but a lot of these places were built on previous. So you've got history here that goes back to the ancient Britons, people who built Stonehenge. You're talking 4,000 years ago. Mm-hmm. Then you've got the Romans coming in, and then the Romans leave, and then you've got the Anglo-Saxons, and then you've got the Normans, and then you've got thousands of years of history.
It's been under conquest and battle for a long time.
Building one religious site over somebody else's for thousands of years. So who the hell knows, you know?
What's your take? What do you think?
But what? Is it haunted?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You think it is?
Oh,
because
of
I for
course.
sure think it is.
You
John?
can't bury somebody in the
I'm
walls.
sure, yeah.
You
This
can't
is-
bury somebody in the walls and that crap not be haunted.
I think it's haunted.
It was probably haunted in the 14th century before the.
No doubt.
For sure. Yeah, I think
This
so.
was probably an ancient, like a
Burial
Brythonic
ground.
pagan place or something that they
Who
built.
knows?
That they built a Catholic church on, probably
Yeah.
in the 7th century, and then just kept. And then, the Romans probably built a church there, the Temple of Saturn, or who knows?
Yeah.
Temple
All right.
Saturn.
So, what'd you drink tonight?
We be Steve.
Scotch.
Yeah. It's got-
Yeah. John.
Tequila.
Tequila.
I bought. This is the number 3, not the third drink, but Trace agave. 3
Trace
agaves,
I only saw you drink one,
as
but-
opposed to the 8 tequila 8 or
Yeah,
the gangster 4.
Yeah, the tequila ocho will get you drunk quicker because it's 8 of them instead of 3, right?
Yeah, this
that
is
what it
only 3. If you drink G4, it's 4 of them.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And I'm Lalo, and it was only one drink. I don't know how many's in that. So, is Lalo a number?
Lay low.
Lay low.
The name.
You're gonna lay low.
Yeah, she's just gonna lay low.
Yeah.
All right. If you want to hear us on a podcast, go to Paranormal Spirits on any of your podcast platforms. And we got some new stuff out there for you that is non-paranormal. It's just us sitting around and talking and
It's
acting
just
crazy. No, just normal, abnormal.
And abnormal.
Y'all are not normal.
It's AB normal.
Evidence of abnormal psychology.
Yeah. You can see how crazy that we really get. You can go to, if you're listening on a podcast and you're hearing this, go to YouTube, check us out, subscribe, like.
Subscribe.
If you want a bottle of Blanton's, hop in there on the Lizzie Borden, the first episode of the Lizzie Borden podcast that we did. Put Blanton's, subscribe, and then put Blanton's down in the comment. If you're the lucky person, you get a bottle of Blanton's. You can also check us out at paranormal _ spelled out DASH _ spirits, and you can use that to find us on TikTok, Instagram, or X. If you go to our website, that's paranormal-spirits.com. And we also have liquor reviews there. We have a Boozy's Boutique, which is our little boutique store where you can pick up all your boozy swag. Mm-hmm. And we got dad caps and trucker caps and Boozy's koozies and koozie covers and all kinds of good stuff there. Am I forgetting anything?
That new shirt just got published today, right? The
the Squatch one.
Squatch shirt got published today. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, initially I had done that just for you, and then we went back in.
But I want one now that's not a racerback.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Because,
so it's just a regular T-shirt. Yeah, because it is kind of cool.
Clearly, we can't.
It is a
wear
very cool
those racerbacks ever in public again.
I could do it. I'm not scared.
I am.
I could do it.
Other people should be scared of what they might see.
So, did I leave anything out? Did I get everything?
I think so.
So, if you're listening on a podcast, do me a favor. Go down just below where you scroll through, and you can see that little thing with all the stars there. Just on that 5th star over there, the one all the way on the right. Just click that one. Tell everybody how much you love this podcast and why you listen to us every week. And that helps us out a lot, because what it does, it feeds that algorithm monster, and the podcast platform will offer it up to more people to listen to, and it helps us grow our show. So, y'all have a good night.
Night.
Night night.